And I would like to call up the following people because we are going into a panel discussion. Ma'am Pearl Nkrumah, I think she will be joining us virtually. Our IT team at the back will be able to assist us with making her that she connects. Ma'am Pearl is from Access Bank Ghana, and she's a businesswoman and a lawyer and an executive director at Access Bank. Next up, I would like Mr. Adedamola Dania to please also come up off stage. He's head of government relations of Kuda, Nigeria. If we can give him a round of applause. He's a financial services professional with over 25 years experience covering retail and investment banking in Europe and Africa. I would also like to call up Ma'am Catarina Souza, who is the head of risk at Banco, Millennium, Atlântico, Angola. And Ma'am Catarina is the head of risk and she's got more than 8 years experience in this division. And also she's been a software supplier and has implemented a variety of risk projects. Also, I've got Yves Soumelong, who's the regional digital product management from CEMAC Uber Group in Cameroon. If he can also come up, he's got a computer science degree and a master's in computer science. He has worked in various banking environments, looking over digital transformation projects, collaborating in cross-functional teams, as well as delivering customer-centric digital solutions and managing the diverse change of business needs. Is Ma'am Pearl going to connect with us? Or should we proceed? Do we proceed or she's going to connect? Okay, she's going to connect. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Ma'am Pearl, for joining us. It is indeed the digital era, so even from any part of the world, you'll be able to connect with us. Welcome, Ma'am Pearl. I just want to give a succinct overview, thank you, ma'am, in terms of digital transformation in the banking sector. Because this, as much as we are looking towards digital transformation, the gentleman there at the back asked a question: where are the customers? And we know that technology is nothing about the people. And this is how we look at applying technology. It's the technology, it is the processes, and then it is the people. And this is what makes digital transformation a success. I first want to say that we cannot obviously speak about successful digital transformation without speaking about a digital culture. And this is really what we're going to emphasize for this part of the discussion, to say, what is digital culture and how does it mean to your bank? So I just want to first start with you, Ma'am Pearl, to ask you the question: what does digital transformation mean to your bank?
Thank you very much. Can I be heard?
Yes, ma'am, you're very audible.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the opportunity to be part of this conference. So I think your question is what digital transformation means to us in Access Bank. First, I believe as an institution, we know that it's a process. And it's a process that takes time to get to that stage where we will say we have experienced transformation. So we have been able to outline the various processes that we need to go through to get to the transformational journey that we are all looking for. Now, when you look at how we define digitalization before digital transformation. So as a bank, we go through that process. How do we move paper to online, and how do we make sure that there's a seamless process using systems to, for example, for approval processes, and then how do we transform it in a frictionless, seamless way in terms of how customers interact with us and how we also interact with customers along the client journeys of either we are onboarding them, we're lending to them, supporting them transactionally, or we are enabling them to be able to reach us when they have any issues or when we have service failures. So we recognize the process and the journey to get to digital transformation, and we committed in all the various stages to move our teams and our clients along those stages to get to the stage where we will say we have a frictionless digital transformation system in the bank. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would observe protocol and go ladies first. Ma'am Catarina, I also want to ask you, in terms of your organization, in terms of building a whole digital culture, what were the operational and cultural shifts, and how did you integrate that digital technology in your organization?
Perfect. Okay. So I was thanking you for inviting me. This has been very interesting so far. And you were asking me how do we integrate those aspects of the culture in our organization. Well, we've started by including more to let people know more about the strategy and about the solution that we are implementing. That is a very fundamental part of making it work. Because if you keep working, I think this is very important. If you keep working in silos, if you keep having the business side and the technological side, it won't work. People need to work together, they need to collaborate, they need to get in a room together to work out a solution, to work out a plan to implement that solution. And that did the trick for us. It was the best way to get people to get involved, to get people to get acquainted with what the plan was, and to get them committed with the final delivery.
I love that, getting people involved. And I think this actually is my next question, which I will address to Mr. Ade. I want to ask you, in terms of the digital culture, what do you think is the missing piece in digital banking strategies in Africa? Because Ma'am Catarina just said we need to get people involved. What is the missing piece so that we enable banks to pivot in implementing digital strategies?
For me, based on what we've seen, experience of Kuda, the key element missing is the willingness for collaboration. Pearl, unfortunately, isn't here with us, but right now, Kuda is looking to enter Ghana, and one of our key entry strategies is collaboration with Access Bank in Ghana. We need more of that in country and inter. So we need to cooperate. The future is not just about neobanks, but it's commercial banks working with us jointly and also communicating the vision that the regulators can understand and not fear the change that's coming. We need to collaborate. There is not enough collaboration between fintechs and, for lack of a better word, commercial banks and the traditional banks.
Thank you so much. Mr. Soumelong, you are from what we would call a traditional bank. And so what I want to ask you is that there's a lot of players that are coming in. You've got fintech companies, you've got neobanks, but then how is it that we address the cultural challenges? Because when you look at, for example, a fintech, it will be a startup, right? And then you've got the telcos. Then it's all a diversity and a myriad of cultures. How would you then drive that so that, as he was saying, to push towards collaboration for this digital transformation?
Okay, that's very good questions. Sorry. When we talk about customer, we have internal customer and we have external customer. So to keep our external customer satisfied, we need to be sure that our internal customer is also well managed. And when we talk about internal customer, it's about our staff, our colleagues, our collaborators. And internally, we have the staff, we have also the partners, like fintech, as you just said about. And, it's like all people, all staff inside must be involved, as you said at the beginning, and to be aware of what is going on. Let's say that you want to launch, maybe, let's say, a new product, let's say a new digital platform or a new digital application. All staff involved in the company must be involved. There must be a campaign inside to promote that application, to understand the benefit of the application. So everybody, even is the teller the cashier, the support staff like operational guys, like IT control and so on. Not only business guys, so everybody must be involved, and you will see that maybe the gatekeeper, we talk about how the application works, how the application is, we transform customer experience and so on, and you'll be shocked that even that gatekeeper is the one receiving customer from outside, and if he's involved, if he's feeling that culture, okay, and you'll be sure that all customer involving in our products will be also touched. So when you come back to especially fintech guys, you know, we had a session yesterday and talked a lot about fintech, and we discussed and found that fintech is a bit tricky, because when you talk about fintech, it's a small at the beginning, and now they grow fast. But at the beginning, they are too small, and now they must come with a wow products and convince top management people inside, and to have the goal, the mandate to deploy the solution in the bank and sell that services to our customer. So we in UBA, with the vision of our chairman, is to totally transform the bank from traditional bank to digital banks, and it's why we have hired many people coming from fintech, coming from telcos, to now come and contaminate other traditional bankers, and now to develop this digital transformation culture.
I love that, because I think when you have a matter of collaboration, for example, people from fintech and telcos, they have a level of agility that the traditional banks don't have. Now, this is a question that I'm going to pose to Mr. Ade and Ma'am Pearl. Mr. Ade, you mentioned that there is a collaboration between yourselves as well as Access Bank. Now, neobanks are causing a headache to a lot of traditional banks across the globe. How are you managing to find the balance? Because neobanks also need to thrive in this digital world. And how are you finding a balance in terms of that collaboration between yourselves and Access Bank? Because coming back to what Mr. Yves said, to say we ought to have a level of collaboration. So I'll start off with you, and then I will ask Ma'am Pearl to then respond as well from a collaboration perspective.
Okay, thank you. I want to go back to a point Mr. Apata made about regulation. Depending on the license you acquire in country, there are certain things you cannot do as a fintech without a traditional bank. So that alone in itself provides opportunity for both. Again, with Access, we're going into Ghana. We need to process cards. As a fintech, we can't do that due to certain regulatory requirements. So we need the structure that traditional bank has in place already to partner with them. It's a win-win. It's not a competition. If we look at it in the right way, it's a win for everybody. They get fees and transactions, we get our customers. It's just to understand we're not a threat. When we came in, we saw the field. There's a gap. How do we fill the gap? Meet the customer's needs that traditional banks cannot meet. We speak their language. Africa is a very young continent. Our staff base is very young. We need those kind of people to speak the language of the customers. So we understood that, and we moved faster than traditional banks. I think, for lack of a better word, there was a certain degree of complacency and comfort with traditional banks, which gave us opportunities to come in. With those opportunities, we're now saying, look, we've seen this. Work with us. Let's move forward together, not fight each other.
Thank you so much. Let's work together and not fight each other. Ma'am Pearl, if you would like to just add on top of what Mr. Ade was saying in terms of collaboration between fintechs as well as traditional banks.
Thank you very much, and I totally agree with Ade on the comments he made. This is a very big field for all of us, and I will say that there's enough to go around. And the problem that we have in the financial, that's the fast evolving financial space, a bank cannot solve that problem alone. Clients' needs and dynamics have changed significantly. That if we don't move from sharing and we stick to traditional ownership, it becomes a problem. Currently, your customer is not the one who has account with you, but the customer is anybody who can consume what you have created. And some of these creation we do it with strategic partners like fintechs. So in Access Bank, we actually do not consider fintechs as competitors. We consider them as collaborators and strategic partners. There is a whole unit we set up and how we acquire, we assess, and we give the right opportunities so that we are able to solve the problem that we want to solve together. We consider ourselves as orchestrators in this ecosystem, this platform that we play in financial sector. And you cannot do that alone. So I totally agree that we all have to come together. We don't see fintechs, we don't see these partners as competitors at all. We are collaborators. And when we come together, depending on what we do, we are able to holistically provide fast and nimble solutions to customers and also continue to change the banking sector. And for me, that is also part of transformation. If you don't do that, you cannot transform because you can't transform alone.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ma'am Pearl. But then with all this collaboration, I see red flags and I see risk. Ma'am Catarina, how then do we then manage the whole risk factor that comes with collaboration as well as pushing for innovation, but then there's also risks that we need to manage and mitigate?
Well, that is a very interesting question because in all partnerships you have risk. You have risk of failing, you have risk, but in this specific question you have to address a specific risk in banking, which is our core business is to protect the deposits of our clients. That is the main goal in banking. The other things are all accessories. They serve our business purpose, they serve us to make money, but the core business is that. And we have to address that in each case, in each type of partnership that we choose to do. But that being said, we have to do these partnerships keeping in mind that we have to keep pace with fintechs and with neobanks, and we have to and I totally agree with what has been said, that we have to use this leverage to keep up and to use this ecosystem to give our clients access to services and to products that otherwise they wouldn't have access in such a timely manner. But we need to do so in a proper way, in a compliant way, because we work in a very regulated environment. And we need to do so, and sometimes this is very frustrating for our colleagues that work in the IT departments or that work in the business departments or in the marketing departments, because they want to leap, to frog leap, you know, they want to leap some parts of the process, but we can't do it. We have to address the risks. We have to sometimes to say, no, you cannot do that, because this will allow us to let in some clients that we don't know who they are, and to let them do the transactions, and we cannot do that, because this will expose our clients to fraud. So in a nutshell, what I mean is that we can use these partnerships, and we should use them to take these leaps and to accelerate the process. But we have the responsibility to simultaneously to address the risks that emerge from that. And we, the banks, the incumbents, as we say, we have sometimes to say no and to reduce the pace. And sometimes we cannot go to the same game as that fintechs do. And that is the reality. And sometimes, and regulation exists for a specific reason. And we are not all playing at the same level. And that is why fintechs cannot give loans, and we do.
I love it.
It's a different game, and we all need to understand that. And it's not wrong. It's just we need to understand the rules.
I love that because it gives me an analogy of an onion, that the minute you open one layer, then there's another layer, then there's another layer, because as much as we are looking for agility and innovation from the fintechs, but then there is still another layer that we need to look into in terms of mitigating risk as well as regulation. Mr. Yves, so Ma'am Catarina just indicated that it sometimes becomes difficult to convince the stakeholders within the business with regard to your project. Now, you've been involved in a lot of digital transformation and customer-centric innovation. So how did you manage to change the mindset? Because we are saying that traditional banks, you know, I think when we grew up, bankers dressed in a certain way, they were wearing black and skirts, and now the face of finance has completely changed. How then do you bring that mindset shift to say, you know what, digital transformation is the way, and also incorporating the mitigation of risk? But how do you do that mindset shift within your organization so that you can push for the innovation in terms of implementing your digital transformation projects?
This is a very good question. This is a very, very good question. I'm coming from telco, okay, and you know, telco is really an agile structure or agile industry. And when I joined the bank, I think my first week, I just received a no from my risk people, from my compliance people, from my audit people. They said no, no, and no. We cannot move with this because it's risky, it's not compliant, and so on. I was really shocked. I said, okay, how can I find a way forward? So I'm sure that Catarina, the mindset is totally different from the common mindset I'm seeing with my risk people, because when you talk about risk, you know, you have risk you can accept, you have risk we can mitigate, you have risk we can assess. But most of the time, our risk people are put in quotes. They just see the darkness of the value or the business you want to run. And it's their role, they are in their role. We hire them for that, so it's good. But sometimes I think that it's about what will be the value of what we will bring to the company. So because if, for example, we want to launch a new service and the service will bring, let's say, just 10,000, okay, USD. And the risk behind that 10,000 is maybe just 10 USD. So we can say, okay, we move with that because we earn money and we pay for that risk. We have many banks who are doing that. So they know that this is risky, yes, but around this, what is the fine you can have around the risk? If it's 10% or 1%, why not? We can move forward. And what we did to transform that mindset is that we decided that, you know, the focal point of regulator is that risk guys, compliance and so on, they are the ones dealing with regulator. So what we did is that we say, okay, it's not only you for now. Now we call business people, okay, to also go and discuss with the regulator, because most of the time, the regulator doesn't understand what we want to do. And if the regulator doesn't understand, our risk people don't understand, there's something, and we are the business guy, the customer, because what is drive us is the customer. The customer needs the service, needs the value. And it's normal that when we start, we fail at the beginning. But when we fail, we understand, we learn. And now we find a way to not fail anymore. So what we decided to do is that on any meetings with regulator, we bring in we bring in business guys, digital banking guys, and so on. So now we go and discuss with the regulator, with our risk people, and now the change is move, it's really slow, but we are seeing some good results. And most of the time, I also say to my colleagues that you are our lawyer, okay? You are not our judge, you are our lawyer. So even if we are, let's say, I don't know, maybe a chief or a criminal, let's put it like that, the lawyer is there to defend the criminal, okay? To decrease a bit. I'm not saying that criminal is good things, but I'm saying that you are there to help us, not to fight against us. So I invite, if you have risk people in the room, to most of the time change a bit the mindset to help business guys to run the business.
Thank you so much for that analogy. I was actually going to a courtroom, looking at a judge, looking at everybody to think, okay, I'm glad that you're bringing it home. And so with that said, I just want to ask you, Ma'am Pearl, with regard to Access Bank, I mean, the whole thing is about making sure that we increase financial inclusion, but over and above banking the unbanked and making sure that financial services are accessible in every nook and cranny on the continent. I mean, we've heard examples from EcoBank, we've heard examples from Millennium, but just from your side, how are you driving this digital transformation to make sure that we reach the masses on the African continent? Very briefly.
Thank you very much. I think this is a very good question because it's also quite pertinent to me as a retail transformation person. And I think some of the answers or the questions you asked and comments from my fellow panel members here will also kind of address this question. So for instance, partnership. There's no way we can drive our financial inclusion strategy without partnering other players like the neobanks or the fintechs. And it's just because, like I indicated, a bank, when we refer to that traditional bank, we used to always attach a physical place to that. So you couldn't have a bank without a branch. And there's no way we'll be able to also get to everywhere in the communities by rendering banking services if we don't leverage on digitization. And sometimes the technology cannot be provided by the banks, or it will take time to use our legacy systems to do that. Hence, we leverage on fintechs. So in Ghana, for instance, now, you're either partnering a telco or you're partnering a new bank or a fintech who has the technology and to take you there, or we have the technology and they have the access. We've created a community base, so we do that to leverage on to grow financial inclusion. There's also, especially in Ghana, statistically, we have about 90% of Ghanaians who will say they are financially included when it comes to transacting. And it's just because of what the telcos have done, which is enabling people to receive and also to make payments. So almost everyone has a wallet in Ghana. However, only 12% of this population have access to lending, which is also part of financial inclusion. So once again, this is where we also come in to say the data that has already been built, the data that partners have built, or the data that we collectively have access to, we use that to create some scoring systems so that as banks that mostly will have the capital and mostly will also have the compliance and the risk assessment parameters already embedded in our culture, we use that to also make sure that we are able to lend in the microcredit space. So these are the two things that we're doing. How do we enable our clients, or how do we create lending accessibility to the everyday Ghanaian, and how do we make sure that everyday Ghanaian also have a formal bank account where we can be part of all their life events as and when they need it, using strategic partners as well. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Ma'am Catarina, with regard to, because we're almost concluding, building a digital culture, what are the key things that you think we can take home with regard to driving for, again, financial inclusion, as well as giving people access to financial services?
Well, we've already talked about that today in a very broadly aspects, but I think that the key point is access, fundamentally. We've talked about that, an agent's network, giving services to people where they want to and when they want to, like in phones, either in apps or in more simple services. And I think the access is a very good point. Knowing your customers is especially important in this phase, because I think that banks, especially commercial banks, need to start to realize that they have to start to customize more their services to address specific needs, especially for the unbankerized persons, because they need specific products. They don't appreciate that much either the savings products or the loans products that are offered broadly. They need specific solutions, and that is something that we need to work on. And so access, more customized services, and I think that the partnership team that we've already discussed is also a big subject, because it will allow us to go further and more quickly, giving access and creating these products more in a more timely manner.
Thank you so much. I love that. And then, Mr. Ade, I want to ask you as we conclude with regard to the neobanks and the roadmap towards making sure that we equip and empower our communities. What is that thing that you say, the level of sophistication as well as the agility that we can take into the traditional banks to make sure that we drive innovation?
Now, if we take a look at the Ford Motor Company, it came to prominence and dominance of motor manufacturing, not because they did anything new, but they worked smarter. With the fintechs, we have proprietary tech stacks that we deploy our products quickly to meet the needs of our customers. We identify quickly the needs of the customers and deploy, because we have proprietary tech compared to the traditional banks. Tech is not their business. It is our business. So we use that learning to deploy quickly. Additionally, for financial inclusion, one key element that we've missed, well, as a group, we've all missed out on, is the importance of financial literacy. Till date, it's not been properly or adequately addressed. The customers need to build trust in the fintechs. They need to understand the need and, for lack of a better word, the quality of service fintechs can offer based on regulation that's in place if they're adequately licensed. One of the key driving things we did at Kuda compared to other fintechs is we went to each region to be licensed, to give comfort to our customers, to ensure them, to make them aware your money is safe. As you rightly pointed out, we are custodians of the customer's money. We need to ensure they believe we will hold their money in trust safely and securely. So for me, that's what we need to do.
I love it. And for you, Mr. Yves, so I know that you've been involved in a lot of projects in terms of that are consumer-centric. So with your, in conclusion, where do you see the future really of, for example, digital money? Because, you know, we've got mobile money, and I want to know your opinion, and then how do we create a balance between that as well as traditional banks? Because there's a lot of digital currencies that are coming forth. And then you were talking about a mindset shift. So when you bring that type of a conversation, how do you see the future of it being incorporated in the long run as we are talking about building this digital culture?
Yes, it's a good question also. I think that we need to find a way to solve a need, because as I said, the customer is the king. We need to solve customer needs. I will take one example, a story about my mother. My mother was a kind of woman who doesn't want to hear about technology. So she likes feature phone and just enjoy it. So when you came up, I said, okay, no, mom, I think you need to have a smartphone right now. So first of to do what? No, I don't want to do their pick or those, no, give it to your father, me, I like my feature phone. I said, mother, say, and on the smartphone, you can download there's an application called WhatsApp. Okay, you can go on WhatsApp and have a chat. First question, did it cost some money? I said, no, it's free of charge. Okay, let's try. Download WhatsApp on the smartphone, and now the mother take the smartphone, call my sisters abroad, in USA and some other sister in Europe. And she called the sister through WhatsApp, and immediately after drop the call, she checked his balance. She checked the balance of the airtime, and same thing, nothing has changed. And she said, it's free, is it free of charge? I said, yes. Oh, my mother started to be advocacy of WhatsApp in all the meeting, all the family. So it was WhatsApp the good things. Go. I know WhatsApp is sitting in maybe Ireland or USA, and see how people can promote your service without knowing you, because your service solve a need. So regarding our bank, our digital bank we are running, we discovered that this mobile money is the future. So if you are not on mobile money right now, I'm sure, I don't know how many years you will survive again. So what we decided is to launch our own mobile money. So UBA was in Cameroon, was the first UBA branch over the 20 countries where UBA are to launch a dedicated mobile money platform for customer. And that platform, the service is free of charge, nothing to pay. You are doing your transaction for free. And you see, when you decided to do that, many guys said that, oh, how a bank can run a mobile money? It's not the same thing. No. We are not more a traditional bank. We're a bank tech. It's the new word we learned yesterday. So when you call, what's bank tech? Bank tech is a merge between banks, traditional, and fintech. So it's a bank who is promoting technology services and digital services. So, and I'm sure that we'll kill the game with this new service we launch.
Love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. I think in summary, when I pick up from all our panelists, one key thing is having digital literacy. Number 2, inclusion and collaboration. Number 3, as well as having the technology to enable all of that. And I think it comes back to what we started to say, when you implement a digital transformation strategy, it's about the people, the technology, as well as your processes. So in the interest of time, we will not be able to take questions for the panelist round. I just want to give my panelists a round of applause, and thank you very much for your very insightful input to this discussion. Ma'am Pearl, all the way in Ghana, we also appreciate the fact that technology could have you here with us this morning. Thank you very, very, very much. Give our panelists a round of applause.